Hey, listen, Matt. Once again, welcome back to the end of the videos. There's another paid request, this time from Efree. Thank you so much. And for those interested in requesting any type of videos, tier list, review, topic, commentary, reaction, what have you, feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box. And this time, we're going into Bloodfist II, which came out in 1990, just a year after the first one. Once again produced by Roger Corman. Once again released by, I think it was Concord as well. Don't have the same director. This time you have Andy Blumenthal. And you have Don the Dragon Wilson coming back as Jake Ray. But even though he's playing the same character name as the guy in the first, I still don't think it's supposed to be in connection with the first film because there's no references to anything in the first. He got a girlfriend at the end of the first film. There's no reference to her. Right at the beginning of the film, like in the first, he was done fighting, but here at the beginning, he is a champion. And it begins with him fighting a guy in the ring who won't go down, just keeps taking drugs. And so ultimately, Don has to do something, kicks him in the throat, and the guy dies, and he's like, I'm not going to fight anymore. Also, the villain in the first film, or the guy, Quan, he's in this film as a different guy. And the main villain, a guy named Sue. I'm sitting there going, wait a minute. Like, that's the same damn guy. Like, yeah, that's the same damn guy, but he's playing a different character. So, again, even though he's playing Jake Ray, it's not really connected. Now, with that said, of these 5 I've seen, I know there's 8 of them, but the request was for 5. This is my favorite so far of the Bloodfist movies. The third is close, which I'll get to that next time. But I really enjoyed this. I thought this was a nice step up from the first. The first I don't mind, it's a time waster, but the critiques I had in this film, in that film I should say, were fixed in this. The fight scenes seem a lot more smoother, a lot more technique, a lot more smoother in its movements, smoother, straighter kicks, and whirlwind kicks. Not, well, roundhouse kicks, I meant to say. There's more connection. That was one of the issues in the first Bloodfist. It seemed one too many times there was like a punch or a kick thrown where you could tell it missed him by this much. Much better in this movie. I don't know if he learned, like someone told him, or he learned on himself, or he took criticism. Whatever the case may be, props to Don for doing that. Because I thought he looked much better in this movie. He's a great kickboxing champion, but I thought as a screen fighter, which is different from real fighting. That's different. Real fighting and movie screen fighting are 2 very different things. He definitely improved in this. So not only do I think the fight scenes are much better, the movie itself felt even a bit more polished in terms of the sound design. Because I did in the first one, these kind of sound effects, like the first bit of the beginning of the Bloodfist 1, like these squishy sound effects for the blood and or that one fight where it's like all this wind sound you're hearing. Sound design was better. I thought the plot was a little bit more interesting, although the plot reminded me a little bit of American Ninja 2, where it's a group of people are getting kidnapped to go to this island, and then there's experiments to have not super ninjas, but super strong people. Only American Ninja 2, they were kidnapping Marines. Here, they're kidnapping these fighters. But for different reasons. That was to kidnap Marines to turn them into them. Here's to kidnap these fighters. Okay, let me get to the plot. I'm going to get ahead of myself. At the beginning of the film, which I thought was, again, well choreographed, I think the choreography just felt a bit more stronger and a bit more concrete. Better well staged. in the fight scenes of the action. And yeah, I like the idea that the guy just won't go down because he keeps secretly taking these fucking drugs or sniffing. I don't know if it was cocaine or whatever it was. And Don's getting this more and more confused look on his face, like, this guy won't stay down. So after that happens, it's 2 years later. His friend Vinny, played by Maurice Smith, which this also, like the first, like most of these movies have done, they'll give in the opening credits the name, but they also have their title. Like, even says on the back here, Don the Dragon Wilson, okay, then Maurice Smith, WTA World Heavyweight Champion, James Warren, WTA World Cruiserweight Champion, Timothy Baker, ITA World Karate Champion, Richard Hill, ISTA World Welterweight Champion. And I'll say that in the opening credits. Maurice Smith, he's a bit wooden. I will say he wasn't that good acting-wise. Don the Dragon Wilson, like I said, this is when... Started with the first one, and especially in here, I warmed up to him as an actor. Like I said, I like Cybertruck 1 and 2. I believe Ring of Fire 2 I haven't seen in a long time. But Maurice Smith was pretty wooden, I gotta say. But he gets called by Vinny, hey, I'm in Manila. So Manila again, just like Manila was in the first movie, but... Like I said, he's playing the same character, Jake Ray, but there's like no references to the events in the first movie. Thought that was weird, but anyway, he thinks his buddy Vinny's in trouble. He goes to Manila. When he gets there, he does these little hiccups here and there where this cab driver takes it to an alley where people try to beat him up. He beats the shit out of them. Even takes a guy's cab, going, "I'm borrowing your cab." Goes to his gym. We're trying to find Vinny, and these guys are like, "Who are you?" So Don tits his ball, and tits the fucking thing off its hinges and hits a guy in the face. Like I said, when he did these fights, to repeat myself, it just seemed like you see more of the impact. Like there's none of these wide gaps, and that there's more connection, and the tits. It just seemed like smoother and more variety. And what's also interesting is in this he has his own team as well. When you get to especially the third act, so it's not just Don, but it's again this other team. Because what happens is after a couple of these chases and fights, he gets caught by the bad guys. I like that Don tossed this guy. He's acting like a mad scientist. And Don just goes, "Fuck you, Deke." I thought that was pretty funny. He just drug, taking this island, and it plays a little bit like Enter the Dragon. Like if the first film was a bit more Bloodsport, this is a bit like Enter the Dragon with a little bit of American Ninja 2. And like I said, the villain in the first movie, that actor comes back and he's playing a different character named Sue, who's also the main villain. And pretty much Don and these other guys have been brought there. So you have... I'm trying to think. You have... I'm trying to remember the characters' names. You have a guy who's a Taekwondo champion, Monsieur del Rosario. You have this guy who's apparently would train people in the military. And he knew Don back in the day, fighting instructor. I really like this guy Bobby, played by Rick Hill. I wish there was even more of him, but I did like him. I wish he had even more to do. You have this other guy who's like a Greek wrestler. You have this other guy who is a karate champion. You have another guy. You have in certain number of people. You have one who's a boxer, and they've been brought there because the bad guys on this island have this drug that it's a take on steroids that they're injecting in their fighters, and they want to sell it to some high bidders as drug. So we don't use what we pumped our drug into these guys, and see how they pair against the best fighters in the world, and thus see how they kick their ass, and those are the best fighters now. Who wants to bid on this? Athletes to money makers. Athletes to be money makers, as the bad guy puts it. Now, there's some funny. There's also another character who she's with the villains, but she has a change of heart, and you find out she's the daughter of the main bad guy, but she wants things to be. She joins the side of good. I forget this lady's name, but that's her in the movie. And a lot of ass kicking happens. There's a point that the bad guys are too stupid to not pay attention, so the good guys are trying to get out. Don escapes. There's a bit later where he's trying to find his buddies, and he's walking behind the bad guys. He's like walking right behind them like a damn cartoon, and then knocks them out. More fights here, more fights there. There's a bit where I'm like, oh, you stupid idiot, Jake. Because this girl tells him, your buddy Vinny is with the bad guys. So it's like he listens to her, but then when he thinks his friend's in trouble, and she's like, no, don't do it, he does it anyway. But I guess he had to find a way for him to get caught eventually. And then a chunk of the third act is each of these fighters going in, and some of them get killed by the steroid abusing motherfuckers, and some of them don't get killed. And that was surprising. Because I figure, okay, each of these people don't get killed. It's just going to be Don the Dragon by himself. And then he's going to go against one guy, he's going to go against second, going to go against third, he's the last man standing. No. Some of them get killed, but some of them succeed. I'm like, oh shit. And I didn't mind the one guy, I think his name was Sal, who is what was it? It's the same karate that Dolph Lundgren, I believe, studied. I didn't mind him. I didn't mind the Taekwondo guy. I liked the Bobby guy, Rick Hill. Because his attitude from the beginning, like when the bad guy is Sue is going to each of them, kind of telling everybody who they are. And Bobby's like, what's this gladiator shit? Or we're like, try to give shit to the bad guys. There's another bit later on where he has a gun on a guy. Like, you don't move. That's an order, shithead. I wish he was used more. But I thought he was a fun character. And spoiler, like I said, some of them get killed off, some of them don't. You don't see Don fighting a lot of the steroid guys, which is too bad. Except a little bit when they all get in the scuffle. But it'd be nice to see at least one, like one-on-one between Don and... But they do have Don fighting the one guy, Vinny, and that was a fun bit of fight. Like I said, the way it's directed... Now, I don't know if Don the Dragon had more... Now that he's been established as a star, maybe have more control in the fights compared with the first. Or this guy Andy Blumenthal knew a bit more what he was doing in terms of these fights, or both. But it seems like they were a bit better handled in this. I like the variety showcase as well, and then Don fighting Vinny. I like the line, when you fight on drugs, you don't win anything, Vinny. It's like a big old don't do drugs. That's what the movie's about. Don't do drugs. Surprise Smokey the Bear didn't come in to try to fight. Although that'd be funny. Smokey the Bear in a Bloodfist movie. Don't do drugs. okay, and then he claws and rips the guy's nose off and kicks him in the face. I'd see that movie. There you go. Smokey the Bear, voiced by Don the Dragon Wilson. Claw fist. The claws would be bloody tonight. Blood claws. Let's see. And I also liked it that the people I liked the most are lived. Like the people, like I say, they don't have a lot of character development or depth. None. It's just a fun action movie. Kicking ass, taking names. Like, it doesn't go longer than 5 minutes before another fight happens. So it's very, and these movies are only like an hour and 20 some minutes. It's just, again, even the lesser ones, like the first Bloodfist was okay, but God, it brings me back to watching these type of films. Not these specifically, but these type of films on VHS where they're just 80 minutes long. They give you what you want for the most part, what you're expecting. Just a badass hero, some quirky bits of entertainment, decisions, dialogue, choices, plentiful fights, maybe even some nudity here and there, or some other bits, or some other quirks. Doesn't have to be 2.5 hours long. Doesn't have to be pretentious. Doesn't have to feel like it has its head up its ass, or any woke shit. This stuff is refreshing, and there's enough polish compared to even streaming films nowadays that look cheaper, which is hilarious because they probably have the same budget as Bloodfist 2, but films today and streaming. I'm not talking about like Netflix. I'm talking about some of these action films that go direct to stream. They look cheaper with the shitty filters and all the other crap with cinematography and making the film look gray or what the fuck else they do. Shaky cam. CGI dishes for no goddamn reason. Just a world where you didn't have any of that shit. It was so nice and refreshing to just go back and watch these for the first time, but go back to when I was a kid watching these type of films. Don Driver Wilson did a shotgun one or two motherfuckers. Bobby, even though he got his arm broken in this previous fight, he's kicking people's ass with one hand, with one arm. He literally has one arm tied behind his back. He's kicking ass and kicking people in the face. Has the mad scientist guy on gunpoint. That's an order, shithead. You don't do it. When people get shot, it's blood squibs. Can you imagine that? Actual fucking blood squibs? Low explosives that make you simulate blood hit. I have to say that to some people. I remember there's a review I did and people were like, what the hell is a blood squib? That's how fucking far gone we have in action films. People don't know what the fuck a blood squib is. And now Don and his team of 3 other guys, they're helping each other and kicking everybody's ass. Kind of like the end of American Ninja 2, where Steve James is doing this and Michael Dudikoff's doing this, and they're fighting the bad guys in this fortress, the compound, I should say. This was a lot of fun. Again, a nice step up from the first one. I thought the plot was a little bit more interesting. I thought the fight scenes were definitely more smoother and better choreographed, filled with a bit more technique and smoothness. I like Don the Dragon Wilson. I've warmed up to him as an actor. I thought he got big improvement as an on-screen fighter. It's directed better in terms of less wonky sound design, more seeming connection with the hits. The kicks seem a bit more straighter, a bit more smoother in the roundhouses. The supporting actors, like I said, they don't have a lot of depth to them, but they have enough charm or quirks that made me like them. Or they were badass and made me like them on that aspect. Murray Smith, yeah, he's a bit wooden. The whole thing with the super steroids. a bit of a maybe B movie plot idea that's been done in other aspects. But Bloodfist 2 is a lot of fun. So, with that said, thanks for watching. Take care, and we will see you later. Bye bye.